I'm going to talk just a little bit about orchid micro propagation or tissue culture. You know, I sort of dabble with the lab at Carter & Holmes. I'm sort of supposed to be in charge there, but sometimes it doesn't quite work out like that. But we have about 50,000 plants in the lab at Carter & Holmes, 50,000 bottles. And we have 2 grow rooms, and one of them is about a third the size of this room. So there's something constantly going on there. We do dry seed flasking, we do green pod, and we do some tissue culture. And I'm going to talk about the 2 sort of intermingled today. You know, the tissue culture thing sort of got off back in the 60s, and there are probably lots of people in this room that were in on some of the early work. But Mr. Carter, I was very lucky. Mr. Carter went to France back in the early 70s and learned the process of dissecting the meristems and starting the cultures. And they were one of the first real big commercial nurseries, I think, to do meristem culture. And Mr. Carter first started in his kitchen before they had the lab over at the nursery, and I was going up there on Saturdays, and he actually taught me the process, and we sort of fiddled in his kitchen, and then the lab was built, and I remained friends over the years. But you know, this thing is a big industry, especially down here in Florida. There are labs that do nothing but spathiphyllums and just make millions of those things. And some of the labs do strawberries, bananas, and I'll get to orchids in a second, alocasias, ferns. Ferns are a big business, and you can actually, I'm going to give you some tips as I go along, and these are some things that I've learned over the 20 or 30 years that I've been doing this, and courses that I've taken, and whatever. These Mylar turkey bags are just a great thing to use for tissue culture. They will not melt in the autoclave. So you can put things in them. You can put paper plates. You can put petri dishes. You can put the jar to the blender. You seal them up, put them in the autoclave and run them. Take them out, go under the hood and open them, and you have a sterile piece of equipment. And actually, if you're clever, you can actually cut these bags in half and use one of those Mylar balloon sealers and make custom-sized bags for petri dishes or small paper plates, and you don't waste those great big turkey bags, because we used to be able to get the ones for smaller poultry, but I can't find those anymore, so we get these. And actually with ferns, you just put them in the blender, macerate them, pour this liquid into the flask, and the whole surface just breaks out with little ferns. Begonias can be manually done, cut apart, put back, ready for the greenhouse. Aquatic plants, if you've gone to PetSmart lately, have you seen those little sterile bags that you buy to put in the aquarium? Those are sterile inside, and they've been tissue cultured. And that's a real big business. Carnivorous plants are a big business. But now we get to the orchids. You know, orchids are being done in mass. And if you ever go to the big box stores or some of the other places that carry that type thing, you'll see these things by the hundreds. And, you know, it's unbelievable. But maybe we've not done such a good thing to ourselves, because if you go to some of these big commercial nurseries that are growing these things for those mass markets, you will see lots of dumpsters full of those things. So it's really brought the price down, and I'm not sure about that. But you know, when the tissue culture and flasking and stuff started, how many people have worked in a glove box or in a white room in this room? You know, white rooms used to be the thing with the table or the counter, and you would close all the windows, turn off all the fans and things, even before air conditioning, and you would work in this white room, and you would clean up everything with disinfectant, and you would work very slowly in and out so you didn't stir up any air currents, and you would have some success without contamination. But back In the 60s, Agnew-Higgins developed a filter that was very, very good. These things are used for everything now. Some of your home vacuum cleaners have these HEPA filters. They take out anything bigger than 3/10 of a micron, and these laminar flow clean benches were put into use. These are the same filters that are used in the hip replacement operating rooms. They take out anything bigger than 3/10 of a micron, which takes care of all the dust, mold, spores, and bacteria. It pulls air in and takes it through this filter. And the filter has lots and lots of surface area. It's pleated in and out, and the filter's about this deep. And it has these corrugated metal spacers, so it allows the air to come through in a laminar flow. It's very direct and comes through at about 100 cubic feet a minute. It actually traps some particles. Some particles are impacted against the strands of cellulose, and also Brownian movement causes the particles of dust to wiggle as they come through the filter, and that actually causes them to impact and stick to these filters. This is one filter that the more it's used, the more efficient it gets because it clogs up any of the bigger holes. So up to a certain point, the filter gets more efficient, and then all of a sudden it will blow out if you're not careful. Working in a laminar flow hood, you have the air coming at you from the face of the filter out toward you. So you want to keep your work about 6 inches from the face front of the hood because you can get eddies and air to come behind you and bring in contaminants. This is a typical laminar flow hood. This is one that's about 12 feet wide, and 3 people, if you actually had to, could work under it. And these things sort of revolutionized tissue culture and seed flasking. It's very easy to work under these hoods with practically no contamination. Contamination is one of the main problems with tissue culture. Now, there's a specific medium that you use, and I have handouts. I'm going to talk about 4 different formulations, and I have some handouts up here, and afterwards, if you're interested, I know everybody in the room may not be interested, but you can pick up one of these. Phytotech makes a medium called 668. It is a very basic medium, and it's good for all sorts of things. It's absolutely wonderful at half strength, adding just a little bit of sugar back and 8 grams of agar, and adjust the pH to 5.7. It has charcoal in it, and almost any orchid seed will germinate on this. This medium was developed for stem crops on Phalaenopsis, and then people started using it for seed sowing and found that it's very, very good to use. The multiplication medium that we use to multiply the explants after they come out of liquid medium, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It actually has 668 with some potato flakes in it, the Idaho brand potato flakes, and we put a little sugar extra in it and the agar and adjust it back to 5.7. And we're going to see the stuff used here in just a few minutes. Then the final medium that we use to promote some roots just before for the final plates, before they go back out into the greenhouse, actually uses the stages 3 or stages 2 banana food, baby food, and it doesn't matter what brand, and it seems to really promote root growth. And for anybody that's working with seed flasking taps, I'm going to get back to tissue culture in just a minute, but this is also using 668, and it has 2 grams per liter of peptone from beet extract, and this works very well for germinating taps and frags. So these formulas are up here on the table if anybody's interested in them. Now, this is our first video. You need air coming at you at a constant speed, and I'm going to show you how to make if you're working in a laminar flow hood, it's $400 or $500 to have them come and certify your hood. I'm going to show you its playing. Did it start on its own?
No, I started.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm going to show you using a piece of tin foil and a piece of baseboard and one straight pin how to make an airspeed indicator. If you cut a piece of tin foil exactly a ½ inch wide and 4 inches long and hinge it on the top of this piece of pasteboard with a straight pin. And you'll see me do that in just 1 second. You can put this in the hood, turn the hood on, and from where the piece of tin foil is hinged to where it hangs down, when the hood is running, it should deflect about 2 inches. And that means that you're getting, these are ½ inch increments here. So if you, that's a very, very simple way to test a laminar flow hood. So you don't have to call, and if you see it's not coming out quite 2 inches, it has a rheostat usually on the front of the hood or up in the lower compartment. You can just turn it up a little bit, test again until you deflect about 2 inches. If your tin foil is 4 inches long, ½ inch wide, that's about 100 cubic feet per minute coming at you. And that's just about the air velocity you need to keep the area clean. Okay, and you know, everything is autoclaved or run in a pressure cooker. Autoclaved is just a fancy pressure cooker. This one's one that I use. You can also use a pressure cooker. There are a couple of downfalls if you use a pressure cooker to sterilize your medium. You've got to use, well, it's important to use a pressure cooker probably that does not have one of those little bobbers. You should probably use one that has the little cutoff valve here, and you should let the pressure cooker heat until you get a continuous supply of steam out. If you have steam and a little air, steam and a little air, you are not ready to close that valve and start your timing. If you have air pockets in there, you will not reach 250 degrees at 15 pounds pressure. Some of the flasks will not completely sterilize, some will. So it's important to do that. If you use an autoclave, it automatically purges the air out and fills the chamber with steam. This is something, if you, who in this room has ever been cooking agar and it boiled over, ran off the counter and all the way across the floor? Has anybody ever had that? This will stop that from happening. Go to the Walmart and buy one of these little thermometers like you stick in the turkey and put in the oven and put the thermometer outside. Set it at about 110 degrees. The alarm will go off just before your agar boils, and you will not have that problem again. And especially if the agar has charcoal in it, it is the devil to clean up. This is something that has come about and really sort of revolutionized the tissue culture and plastic business too. Has anybody in here used PPM? It is absolutely wonderful stuff. You buy it from Plant Cell Technologies. I think they're in Washington, D.C. It's about $1 per milliliter. You put a milliliter per liter. You can almost work out on the countertop without any contamination. It's a biocide, and it inhibits one of the, I think it's a citric acid cycle or something. Pretty much bacteria and fungi will not reproduce in it. Goes by the trade name of Cathon CG. It's in some cosmetics, it's in paint. It's not a disinfectant, it's a biocide. And here is a plate that was absolutely covered with bacterium and fungi. And these were little discs with different chemicals. And the one here that you see with the zone where the growth has been absolutely killed is PPM. These are some early tests I did when I was thinking about using PPM. So it is the trick for tissue culture. If you get an explant and dissect it out, put it in your liquid medium, and it becomes contaminated, you can actually take that explant, if it's a valuable explant, put it in a solution of PPM, agitate it for 20 or 30 minutes, pour sterile water under the hood, and put it back into culture. And a lot of times you can clean up the contamination and get rid of it. So these are just contaminations that happen, and you want to get rid of them. Dust and cleaning in the lab is a real problem. You know, when you sweep, you stir up things in the air. This is a HEPA vac that I made. It was from the roadside trash place. It was an old Electrolux vacuum, and I flung the exhaust out through a HEPA filter. And I have to tell you, I got a bunch of these HEPA filters. I have a friend who went to a government auction at the Savannah Riverside. It's a nuclear installation close to us, and they use tons of these HEPA filters. So there was a tractor trailer at the auction with some HEPA filters in the back and a few tools. And he bid $200 on the tools and the filters. So we went back the next day to pick up the stuff he bought. He rented a rental truck to go and pick up the stuff that he bought, and they handed him 2 keys. And come to find out, he had bought the tractor trailer tools. To these government auctions, you can get some really good stuff. And if you go to some of these government websites, HEPA filters, laminar flow hoods, autoclaves are on there, all sorts of good stuff. And this is the HEPA filter coming out of the exhaust on the vacuum. And did you notice I have a swimming pool hose on there so I can go all over the lab without moving the vacuum. And another thing, another easy way to get rid of contamination in the lab is with ultraviolet light. If you needs to be 254 nanometer wavelength to be germicidal, but anywhere that this light comes in contact with a surface, it will destroy the bacteria and mold spores that are on there. This is actually one that a friend gave me. He had a koi pond and the filter went bad, so he gave it to me, and I took the light out and put it on a little stand, and I can move it around. And you see, it's just with the ballast and the little stand I made for it, and I can move it from one shelf to the other, put it under the hood. And also in the return duct of the air conditioning system in the lab, we have UV lights. So that cleans any air. And it has a sail switch, so when the air is coming through, the sail switch turns on the light, and when the air conditioning goes off, it turns it off. Now, this is another neat little thing, and it's called a fire boil. Let's start it.
We're great.
Not yet.
No, that was the end of it. This thing has a sensor, and when your hand gets close to it, the fire comes on. So you can actually put your let's see if we can do it one more time. There we go. I turned this one on, but actually, the other thing I wanted to show you, notice that when I'm putting the forceps in the flame, I'm putting them at a 45-degree angle. That lets the flame come up between the 2 blades of the forceps. If you put them flat, the fire goes around. Putting them at an angle, the fire comes up through, it sterilizes the inner surface, flip it over, you've got both inner surfaces, both outside surfaces.
What's the fuel source?
It's propane. Yeah. And these are called Fireboy, and you can, what Nancy's bought, how many on eBay? 4 or 5? Yeah, so they're easy to get on eBay. You know, at Carter Homes, Mr. Carter started not going through the callus stage to do tissue culture. You get a lot of mutation that way. He was doing direct shoot multiplication, and the potato actually causes these shoots to proliferate from the base. They're just chopped apart, put back on the multiplication medium. They sprout from the bottom, cut them apart, put them back. Now I'm going to actually show you how we dissect. This is the new lead off of the Cattleya, and we've had good success with the lead being anywhere from 1.5 inches to 6 or 7, 8 inches. And we're going to go through and actually look at the steps. And this is, of course, the part that was attached to the plant here. The roots would come out here and then come up. Okay. We actually just cut around it when we exposed one of the lateral eyes here. And you know that when you dissect this down, if this eye is on this side, the next eye is going to be over here, the next eye will be here, and the next eye is here, and then also we'll have the apical meristem out here that we can take out. We're not actually doing meristem culture. We're doing tissue culture. We're taking that probably about 1,000 cells that are in the meristem region out, but we're taking some tissue that's around that also. And if you use tissue that's a little bit bigger, not just the meristem, it doesn't oxidize as bad, and you have better success starting the meristem. So here we cut that off, and they sort of got out of, I think when we were working with the videos, they sort of got out of order. But here we see we've got 1, 2, 3. We make it another one, and we'll have the apical. You know, it's not unusual to get 7 or 8 sometimes on a really robust Cattleya with a great fat lead. Sometimes you may only get 2. It depends on the plant. And here's a little close-up look. We didn't actually get an apical off of that one. Okay, now, that can be done non-sterile. That can be done right out on the bench, right out in the middle of the room. Then we put it in a 15% chloride solution with a drop or 2 of dishwashing soap and shake it for about 15 minutes and take it under the hood. Who has noticed that the concentration of Clorox has lately changed? If you've been planting orchid seeds using Clorox and you've not been having good luck lately, they have concentrated Clorox so that the shipping is less. It used to be 5.25 sodium hypochlorite. It is now 8.25. So if you need to get it back down to the old concentration, put 65 mils of Clorox, bring it up to 100 with water, and you're back to the old 5.25. Use out of that 10% or 15%, and you'll be at the right concentration. So after this sits for 15 minutes, we will dissect it, and we're going to actually show you now a video, hopefully, of us dissecting. I wonder if I just click on it if it'll start. Well, the one under it has started, so we need to get the one. Somehow some slides, when the thing was copied this morning here, somehow it doubled some of the videos. Yes?
How do you feel about glass bead sterilizers? Do you have any?
I have never used one. I really, I like a propane flame because I like to flame the mouth of the vessel. I feel like that you really, if you don't flame the mouth of the vessel, that is a great way to introduce contamination. And in micro, you know, that is a standard practice to flame.
If you click on the video, it should disappear.
Hold on. Yes, we have 1,000 now.
In micro, you know, everything's constantly falling down out of the air. And that, another important thing that I didn't mention, I skirt the top of all the flask. After the medium is put in and the stopper is put on, put a piece of tin foil and pull it down around it, and that way it sheds everything off the top of the flask. Also, Also, that foil is sterile underneath. Use that to take your stopper off, turn it upside down, use that to put your stopper back on, and your skin or glove has never come in contact with anything.
Is this where we are, 64?
61.
Let me do this, okay.
Now go 62 and see. This should be the video. And now it's.
Hold on.
Go up to,
Let's try this.
Here we go. Thank you. Now if we can get that, full screen, we're actually going.
Can we get full screen? Let's see. Hold on.
Well, what's happening? It's not buffering or something. Here we go. Now, so actually, this is the new leak.
pause it for just a few seconds and then start it again.
Well, it's just going to go slow, but we'll get through it, I hope.
A little slower.
Yeah, talk a little slower. So we start at the bottom and come up with these sheaths. We make a cut running parallel to the stem, and then we go back and put a T-cut, and we peel these sheaths off one at a time. And you can actually see. We didn't get a Meristem on that one, so we're going to come down. Then we're going to make that T-cut, and you can see the little rings where one sheath is under, and we're going to peel that back, and you see we got a Meristem, an eye right here. Okay, so we're going to make a T-cut, and we're going to do that until we get all the way out to the apical meristem. And sometimes if it gets difficult to peel these back because they're so long, you can actually cut the top of the growth off, because you know that the apical meristem is going to be down in this area right here or a little further down. So actually we'll just keep cutting down and exposing eyes till we don't see another eye, and then we'll dissect out the apical meristem. And all this is done non-sterile out on the bench top.
Since you've said apical meristem so many times,
Uh-huh.
what's an apical meristem?
That is
as
the
opposed to the other one?
These are lateral ones on the sides, and the apical meristem is out on the tip. Apex.
It looks like you already chopped the top of the whole lead off, and you're not even using it.
No, you'll see in just a minute as we.
Down underneath
It's under here, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be right in this point right here, and you will see it as a distinct little white point. You'll see it in just 1 minute.
Law of the congress, somewhere in there, there's some,
Yes.
good or bad, there's something in there.
And speed also is the key to this, because the longer this is exposed to air, the more this oxidizes, and you want to work as fast as you can. And you see, you just keep cutting, and there's the apical meristem right there. Okay, so we had what, 4 or 5 that we can easily dissect out to start the growth. Now let's see. Now. This is another one, and I'm going to, hopefully it will run. Use a sharp scaffold blade. Cut the surface off of the eye. We'll probably cut just a little bit deeper, and in just a minute, we're going to actually, we're going to make the 2 lateral cuts here. And this white area is the area we're looking for. It's where the cells go from green to almost translucent. And we're going to cut on each side. We're going to cut underneath. And then we're going to lift that out as a little cube. And then we're going to clean that up just a little bit. And this is the cube we're actually going to put in the liquid media to start the proliferation.
You don't divide it further?
No. If you divide it further, a lot of times it will oxidize, turn brown, and never green back up. We've had great luck with this size piece of tissue. We've tried smaller. We've even tried dissecting under a microscope, and we found that about a 1 to 2 millimeter cube is the best size to start with.
How many plants does it generate?
You can almost make as many as you want once you start it proliferating. And we're going to talk about that. This is the piece now that's going into the liquid. And you see this, it's being dissected in a Petri dish. If you have trouble with oxidation, you can use some citric acid and ascorbic acid and make a little solution, and that will help with the oxidation. This is the piece going in, and it goes into a liquid either on a roller drum in 16 millimeter tubes or in the squatty flask and that we use on a shaker table. Either one. You want the aeration in the medium, and you want the plant tissue not to polarize, not to know which way is up and which way is down. If the plant's stationary, you'll get shoots going up and roots going down, but by agitating this, you'll get some proliferation of the tissue. And as the plants begin to do this, aren't those neat? Sir? We remember we just put it in the soap in the Clorox solution for 15 minutes, took that out under the hood and rinsed it, and then we dissected out the Meristem. When we had the glove on, the blue glove with the Clorox solution, that's when we sterilized this. It was initially. We dissected it out on the table, put it in the Clorox solution, went under the hood. So then we rinsed it and dissected. And here's one. This is what some of the contamination can look like. And I was talking about the phenol. It's sort of a phenol derivative that's given off by plant tissue. And a lot of times this almost looks like contamination, but it's actually the phenol that's coming out. And this agar has charcoal in it. And charcoal actually in the medium gives a dark substrate, probably to help roots go down, and it absorbs organic matter. And here's one of the initial explants that has been cut into this many pieces, and then they can be put back on the roller to multiply a little bit more. And now we've got one on top of this slide. This is the shaker table, and we've got the back slide working properly, but we got one on top of it for some reason.
What concentration of citric acid are you using to rinse?
You use about 150 milligrams of citric acid per liter, autoclave that, and then put it in a Petri dish and do your dissection in. Yeah, here we go. And this is a shaker table that I sort of rigged up. Do you remember there was this infomercial about 15 years ago on the television? If you had bad circulation in your feet, you would lay flat on the floor and put your feet in this thing and it would shake your feet. Well, evidently they did not work very well because the Goodwill is full of these things. And I bought 4 or 5 of them and got the gear motors out and made these shaker tables out of them. And using wire that you hang suspended ceiling with, I made the clips, and it works very well. And then once we get to this stage, it can be cut up and put on solid medium for the first time, and that's the medium that I was talking about, using the potato to multiply with the 668. And then when they get to this stage,
How old is that stage?
that's probably about 6 months from the initial explants. And I put about 5 explants and 5 pieces of the tissue out of the liquid culture into these tubes. And then they go from here to put about 25 of those pieces in the final medium with the baby food, and we get really nice roots on them.
So you said banana baby food. What is it, potassium that they like? Or?
I think it's the banana. I don't know that the potassium has anything to do with it. And then from there, they go into flats for the first time. Okay, now, has anybody in this room ever seen this? It is some sort of mutation. Does anybody in here know what causes that? We call them Christmas trees because they look just like Christmas trees. The plants will never develop rhizomes. They will never make new growths. They just grow straight up. And I brought this slide to see if anybody could help me.
How many different genera have you had that in?
Mostly, probably 8 or 10 Cattleyas, and we can never stop, standard Cattleyas, we can never stop them from doing this. Yes?
I had it happen with cataseums,
Yep.
and what I did is I took these and I buried them really deep. And with the cataseums, the only thing I managed to get, they will outgrow it with a cataseum. I didn't get it to do it with anything else.
I've tried laying these down on the side, but I didn't think about burying them down in the medium. I'll try that. Yes?
Does it occur at the end when you've made a lot of plants?
We usually will only go 5 transfers out from the initial explant, and then we go back to the original plant to start over. And this does happen maybe 3 or 4 transfers out from the original explant after they're on multiplication. Do you think that
Some time ago, plants like that, they actually were studying the fossil tips, and many of them had, for whatever reason, become octopoid.
really?
They're stunted and they can never form a normal plant.
I see. I was wondering if it had, that's interesting because I was wondering if it had something to do with hormone concentration or some contamination.
Whatever caused the mutation of the doubling of the chromosome. So normally if you have a diploid, you have to go to a tetraploid, and the tetraploid has to go to the octoploid. But if you're cloning a tetraploid and it doubles, you
You
immediately get that.
get that. That's good to know.
Once in a while, we train workers just to toss it out, but exactly what they were in the 1970s, a few of them were counted in the Vandas and Dendrobiums. I'm not sure about Cattleyas. They look very much like that, and they were octoploids.
Yeah. We actually had some Maconi Mendenhalls to do this.
Okay, a clone would be at least a tetraploid.
Tetraploid, yeah.
So immediately went to an octoploid.
Does that happen with seedlings?
Common mutation to double.
I've never had it happen with seedlings, only with tissue that we started from the plant. Yes.
Mine were seedlings.
Yeah.
Yours were seedlings.
I've seen it happen in that genera of seedlings, and if you get seed for whatever reason that your media is a little off or it multiplies, you get some callus formation, and then you get plantlets out
Yeah.
when you're working with seeds. I've seen that happen at that point in time.
And you probably got mutation by going through callus.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens when you plant that? What happens when
Actually, we tossed the bottles out too because they never would develop.
nothing develops? You tried finding one or?
We did, and nothing. They just stayed at that stage, so that must mean that they never would have gone on. Now, I've got another video here that somehow it's put a still picture over every video for some reason.
I'll bet you it's because we brought your pictures up on the.
It might have been. It might have been if we can get that one just to run from the start. This is a little gadget that is very helpful with tissue culture and flasking and all sorts of lab procedure. It's a bottle filler, and you can punch in how many mils you want it to deliver, and you have a foot switch, it's great for filling water tubes. We use water tubes with Morton closures, and we autoclave those to cool instruments in under the hood, and it will put the same number of milliliters, the same volume in each bottle or flask. You can put media that has the bananas, the potatoes. It's a peristaltic pump, so it will just run through without any.
If you go up to slideshow, over the top. Go up to slideshow up at the top.
In the middle, right under.
Up at the top.
In the middle,
Up
in
at
the
the top.
center.
Right there. Click that. You're right clicking.
Oh, you're right, I am left-handed sometimes.
From current to the left.
From current.
Back to the top. Back to the top, top left.
There we go. Now, you can set how many mils you want it to deliver. This thing is worth every penny it cost. It was $70-something on eBay. They are absolutely wonderful. So you can just put your bottle under. Just go to bottle filler, you will find it. There's one with Chinese instructions, and there's one with English instructions. Get the one with English. I had trouble with the Chinese. Now, let's see what's next.
What was that?
It's called a bottle filler.
What are you filling the bottle with?
With medium, with water, with whatever we need to put in bottles, the same volume in each bottle, and it's repetitive, and you step on the foot switch and it puts it. Move that bottle, put the next one, step on the foot switch.
So it measures.
It measures it. And the volume is fairly important, so we put about 100 mils of medium in a 500 mil Erlenmeyer flask. Now, we have a code that I use on top of the bottles just with a magic marker on the tin foil, and we use green for seed, blue for multiplication, red for final, and brown we use for PAFs. And you can actually, this thing has 5 programs, this bottle filler, and you can write how many mils you want and just hit program 1 or program 2 to deliver different volumes. It's a very worthwhile thing. Oh, I got another one here. This is the devil. Now this is just another helpful hint that a woman at the lab at Carter and Holmes showed me. Have you ever gone to adjust your pH, and all of a sudden the whole pH electrode drops down in your medium? I'm going to show you a trick here. Here we go. A clothespin is the perfect thing to keep that from dropping down into the medium. Okay, and now let's see what the next one is. There we go. Now, we were talking about, anybody that's done flasking knows that you have to boil agar to disassociate the colloid. What agar's a colloid, so you have to disassociate it. But a lot of the big labs that do this commercially do not boil the agar. They put everything in I do 10 liters at a time, so we put a 5-gallon bucket. We put this little submersible pump in, and this is the output. It brings in from the bottom, and it comes up here, and it comes back down here with a T on the end, and you turn the pump on, you put your water up to a certain level. We put the pump in, put in 10 liters of water. We marked it. So from now on, we just put the pump in, put 10 liters of water to the mark. We've got the same volume. We dump the chemicals in, turn on the pump. Okay? The pump forces the liquid up, back down, and out 2 ways, so that keeps it agitated. Okay? There are 2 hoses going to the little nozzle that we use to distribute it into the flask. So it's circulating the media down and back continuously so that the agar's in complete suspension. Then we just fill we put the stoppers on, and we autoclave, and you can omit that step of boiling the agar. You just adjust the pH after you dump everything in, and you will not believe how much time that saves if you're doing large volumes of medium at a time. Now, we were talking about this last night, and I do not have much experience with this, but I just wanted to show it to you. Keith Davis gave me a protocol for doing tetraploid conversions from a paper that he got somewhere, and I'm not sure. Did he get it from you, Roy? No. But anyway, it's using Surfland. And actually, we're not going to use the video here, but you get the protocorms about this size from seed. And, well, maybe, can we run this video? It'd be nice. If you put about 2 mils of Surfland, the herbicide, in a liter of water, and it doesn't need to be sterile at this stage, and let it sort of fall out of solution. If it doesn't fall out of solution, put just a little bit more, and when it begins to precipitate, it's about 70 micromolar, and that is just about the concentration that you want to flood your protocorms with. And the procedure that Keith Davis sent me called for 5 days, but Roy said he has, with colchicine, has gone for longer periods of 3 weeks. So I don't know, I'm very new with this, but I just wanted to show you the procedure on the video if we can. And we make this up non-sterile and put it in a 10 cc syringe and put the protocorms, go under the hood with the protocorms in a flask and put a 0.22 micron filter on the syringe and aseptically add that to the protocorms. And the material that Keith sent me said that at the end of that 5 days, any protocorms that were not dead, to rinse them in sterile water and replate them, and supposedly any that did not die would convert. So I have not much experience with this, but I just wanted to show you the procedure. Is it going to run?
How do you get the wax out of the Surfland, or you just buy the Surfland without it?
It is in there, and it's orange, and it's very difficult to get with. But at that dilute of solution, it's very easy going through that 0.22 filter to completely get it out.
Is that the slide that you want to?
The next one, I believe it is.
Go ahead and see if you can forward.
Nope, it's the one, it's this one.
I don't think it's going to.
Think it's not going to play.
I don't think so.
No, it's not going to play, but anyway, I was just going to show you putting the Surfland in. Sorry, we've had trouble with these videos. You know, bioreactors are the new thing that's coming with tissue culture, and they're doing all sorts of things with bioreactors. They're using these sterile bags that are heat sealed on a rocker table. They're doing all sorts of things. These are some experiments that I did. This is using a cellulose sponge with a liquid multiplication medium and putting three pieces of plant on the sponge after they had started multiplying, and we had real good luck with them doing this at Carter and Holmes. We actually, in the background, tried Perlite. We tried several things, but you see, this is on a cotton cosmetic puff with liquid medium, and we got better multiplication on the cotton pads than we got on the cellulose sponges. And we tried this for a while without any agitation or aeration or anything, and got really good multiplication. And now I want to talk a little bit about LED lights. Has anybody in here grown flask under LED lights? Good. So LED lights are the coming thing. These T12 tubes, if you can find them, they're about $18 a piece now. They've stopped making them, and the ones that are in stock in the stores now are the last ones that will be available. So a lot of people are switching to LED lights. Can we, and these are plants growing under LED light. I do have white lights on in the ceiling. You know, you go in the grow room and with the blue and the red, all the plants look brown and dead in the flask until you turn on the overhead lights, and then everything's just as green as it can be. So we want the two wavelengths, 640 and 460 nanometers, and you can actually go on eBay and for $9 order a 16-foot roll of these things. And about 6 months ago, they started making the ones with the 4 red, 1 blue, 4 red, 1 blue. Until that stage, we had to actually cut these and solder them together. These have an adhesive strip on the back, and I tried to find something to put them on to make them rigid. And I was in Lowe's one day, and I walked past the place that sells the grid for the ceiling. You peel the back off of these things and just stick this on. This makes a rigid bar that you can actually just hang these. And once you put these in, if you're heating the lab, you're going to have to put some heat for the wintertime. Where we are, we get very cold, so we had to have extra heat. I was running fluorescent lights at night in the winter and running an air conditioner to pump the extra heat out. These put out hardly any heat. One 12-volt transformer will run 8 of these 8-foot sections, and they run off of 12 volts. And I'm going to show you what they look like when they run. You don't need the intensity with LEDs that you need with regular light, because you're getting the two main wavelengths that you need, and you don't have to have all the other wavelengths. And look at this, isn't that
Christmas.
Yeah. Now, if you want to use these LED lights to supplement light growing inside, take a piece of top rail cyclone fence, the 1 5/8, about 5 feet long, and put a S-hook in the top and wrap these around like a candy stripe and go from top to bottom, and you can hang that right in the middle of your plants without producing any heat and burning. So this, we're in the process of replacing all of the fluorescents with these right now.
Steve,
Yes,
do you use anything for its intended purpose?
I do not. I do not. And these are the two wavelengths, and just a little about, I think I've gone over just a little about. Now, I also at my lab teach classes, and several people in this group have been in some of my classes that I teach. And if you're interested, you can see me or whatever about this. And let's see, there was, this is the crop we probably need to tissue culture. Don't you imagine? South Carolina's a little slow, so I may need to move to Florida, but I think Florida's a little ahead of this. And just, these are some folks that I talked to about this. And I have just 2 more slides that I want to show you. I want to show you my lab technician working with Polyrhiza lindinii, and she's not real sure that she's not afraid of those ghost orchids even in the bottle.